Yo, what's up everybody? Jumping here, and today I wanted to show you guys my overpowered Warlock build in Destiny 2. This thing's actually really good for both PvP and PvE, and it freaking wrecks. Now I personally think that it's a little bit better in PvE because you will always have your grenade, your melee, your super. It comes back so fast. And because this is a Destiny build, there's really not much to it, but it's really more about the gear and what you need to actually make this work. Now the number one thing you need for this build is you have to get this exotic helmet, which is the Nazareth Sin. This thing is absolutely amazing. Now, Zerg recently sold this, so I hope everyone picked it up. But in my opinion, this is the best exotic helmet for the Warlock. And I mean that for every single subclass. This helmet works great not only on the Voidwalker, but also on the Stormcaller and even the Dawnblade. Although I don't personally like the Dawnblade all that much, and I think most people would agree with me on that. But the Stormcaller and the Voidwalker is a really good subclass right now, and it works great. Now, the thing about this helmet, what makes it so good is that void damage kills will increase your ability recharge rate. Now, that pretty much means that any void damage kills, not just ability kills. So if you're using a void weapon, you could pretty much get faster cooldowns for pretty much everything. So that means you can use this on the Dawnblade subclass or the Stormcaller subclass if you want to. And that is really, really nice. And I'm going to show pretty much my setup for the Stormcaller and the Voidwalker. So this is going to be my setup for the Voidwalker. What I like to use on the helmet is grenade recharge speed because that's really good for this build. For the gloves, it's the same thing. I recommend grenade recharge speed. For the chest piece, that's kind of up to you, but I normally go for reduced recoil for kinetic weapon. And for the boots, I like to go for recovery, although if you're more into PvE and not so much PvP, I would recommend maybe putting void melee on the boots if that's something you want to do. And on the bond, I definitely would recommend recovery. Now your split overall, I definitely recommend 4 resilience, and if you can do it, 10 recovery. 10 recovery is absolutely ridiculous. If you can't get to 10 though, 9 is really good as well. Mobility is not so important. Mobility only affects your walking speed, which pretty much means your strafe speed in PvP, and also your jump height. So that's pretty much all mobility will do. Resilience after 4 resilience isn't really all that important, because in PvP right now the meta is the Mida multi-tool, and if you have 3 resilience, you're going to die faster than if you have 4 resilience to the Mida. You can take 1 extra Mida shot if you have 4 resilience. So that is why 4 resilience is really good if you're going to play a lot of PvP. Now for the weapon lineup, honestly, you don't really need to use the Mida multi-tool, but the primary for this build is actually not necessary. You're not really going to use your primary all that much because it's all about using a void weapon. Now any energy weapon and any power weapon can become void. You just have to put that on there. But if you're going to use an energy weapon, I recommend an auto rifle. I definitely love the Prosecutor. This is the Trials of the 9 auto rifle, and I know that most people might not have it, but if you do have it, I definitely would recommend using this for PvP and also PvE. It works great, absolutely just destroys enemies, and it's really, really good. Now, if you don't have this, though, I would also recommend using the Uriel's Gift. This is really easy to get, and it's also really, really good and will absolutely wreck both PvP and PvE. So if you're going to use a Void energy weapon, definitely would recommend one of those two. Now for the power weapon though, especially for PvE, I definitely recommend a sword. You really want to get a sword that will have landing 3 strikes will grant ammo, because that will actually make your sword have like unlimited ammo. I'm going to show some gameplay with this at the end, and I'm going to show a clip where I pretty much can hit a boss in a strike for an unlimited amount of times. I can just keep hitting them and I keep getting ammo. Now this is the Rage Sword. I think the Rage Sword is the best sword in the game right now, so if you have the Rage Sword, definitely use this. If not, there are other swords with this perk that will grant ammo. I would recommend those swords over all other swords because those swords are really, really good, and you can pretty much just have unlimited sword ammo, and that's great. And the sword works really well with this build with the Nazareth Sin. It just is amazing. You can also use a rocket launcher if you like. If you're going to play PvP, you can use a shotgun, a sniper, a fusion rifle. It does not matter, just as long as it has void damage on it. Now for the actual subclass, pretty much both the Voidwalker subclasses are really good. I recommend using, for PvE, the top one. Although for PvE, you can use either one. Both are really good. I'm going to show a clip where I'm using Devourer and the sword, and you're going to see like how freaking crazy that is in PvE. It is really, really good. But overall, though, I would recommend the top tree more for PvE and the bottom tree more for PvP. Now with the top tree, what's really nice is that when you do a melee, you can get like half of your grenade back really quickly doing that. You can also charge your grenade up, and that's going to make it more powerful. I'm going to show some clips where you can just see how powerful that grenade really is, especially the vortex grenade. It's freaking crazy. But yeah, that is a really cool thing. And with the Nazarick Sin, you pretty much will get all your super back, like instantly. You don't actually drain your super at all. So that is really, really nice. Bloom is also really good. And also, I just think for PvE, the final perk is better for the top tree, for doing damage to bosses and things like that, than the Devourer Tree with the Vortex. I don't know. I just personally like the top tree a little bit more. Now, for the grenade, if you're using the top tree, definitely would recommend the Vortex grenade. If you're using the Devourer Tree, though, I definitely would recommend the Axiom Bolt. Although all 3 grenades are really good, and it's kind of up to you. But Axiom Bolt is really good, and Vortex is definitely really good if you charge it up first. It's really crazy. It's kind of like a mini super if you do that. Now, for the Rift, I normally like to use the Healing Rift, but sometimes I'll use the Empowering Rift. And for the jump, it's totally up to you, although I would personally recommend Burst Glide because I think it's the best. Now, that's pretty much it for the Voidwalker. You know, one thing about this helmet, I just want to quickly say, I got this helmet like 7 times, and it really made me mad. And that is because all I really wanted to get was the Skull Adair Akara. And that is because I thought that this was definitely going to be the best helmet for the Voidwalker. Now, this helmet is also really good. There's a little bit of a trick that you can do with this helmet. You can use the Nazarick Sin to pretty much build up your super and use it as you're running around using your melee, your grenade, and all that so that you can get that back faster. And then if you're going to come up on a part when you're playing PvE and you know there's going to be a huge group of enemies and you want to Nova Bomb them, simply just put this on and then Nova Bomb them, and you can pretty much get all your super back if you do that. So that works really, really well, and I would recommend doing that. I'm going to show a clip where I actually do that, and it does work. So I would recommend that as a little bit of a technique that you can use if you do want to use this as well, because this is also a really good helmet. I just think the Sin is just so much better. It just works so well. Now let me quickly show you my Stormcaller setup, because like I said, believe it or not, the Sin works really well with all the subclasses, and I personally like the Sin over every other Warlock helmet for the Stormcaller. I don't really like the Crown of Tempest. I mean, this is an okay helmet, but I just don't like it all that much. Same with this one, the Eye of the Other World. Not a big fan of it. I personally like the Sin more. So for the Stormcaller, what I do is I put the Arc Melee Recharge Faster on the helmet. For the gloves, I put Arc Melee will recharge faster. For the chest piece, I put Grenades will recharge faster. And for the boots, I put Grenades will recharge faster. And if you look at my split, I have a 4 in Resilience and a 10 in Recovery, so it's pretty much the same thing. The weapons are the same because you have to use Void weapons because you're not going to be getting any Void ability kills with the Stormcaller, but the Void weapon kills will grant you extra cooldown for your grenade, your melee, and all that. Now, what's really cool about this build, I definitely would recommend for PvE the bottom tree. And what's really great is Rising Storm. This melee is definitely one of the best melees in the entire game. It has extended range, and it will help recharge your super, your grenade, and your melee energy. And because of the Nazarick Sin, you can get this back so fast. You can get your grenade back super quick. You can get your melee back super quick. And it works great with the Stormcaller. You can also get your Rift back, too. And because of the bottom tree, you can get your Arc Soul going. It's really, really good. And for the grenade, definitely the Pulse Grenade. Most overpowered grenade in the game. Absolutely love this thing. I use the Healing Rift with the Arc Soul. And once again, I recommend Burst Glide. But that's pretty much it for the Stormcaller. I'm not going to show any gameplay with this, but just let me tell you, it works great. So I definitely would recommend trying out both these setups. But let me go ahead and get into the gameplay now. You can see how this build works and why is it so freaking good and why the Nazarick Sin is definitely the best exotic helmet for the Warlock. Alright, so this is going to be the gameplay, and the first thing I'm going to show off is the top tree of the Voidwalker. Now I'm going to charge up my Vortex Grenade and throw it out, and then I'm going to get a melee, and that's going to help with the cooldown of the grenade, but you can pretty much see how quickly I'm going to get my grenade back. It's absolutely ridiculous, and that is because of this helmet, and also because of that melee. But I'm also going to get the melee back really fast, so that's pretty much how you want to play this. You can always use your super, it's really good, obviously. But when you don't want to use your super, you can charge up your Vortex Grenade, throw it into groups of enemies, then you can melee something and help get your grenade back, shoot some enemies with your Void Gun, and you're pretty much just going to constantly have your melee, constantly have your grenade, It works great. Although I'm not using the Rift, it's the same thing with the Rift. You can get your Rift back really quickly with this helmet. This helmet is freaking amazing. But that's pretty much how I would recommend playing the top tree. You just want to throw your grenade, charge it up a little bit. I'd say charge it up for maybe about 3 seconds because there is like a limit to it. You don't want to like sit there and charge it forever because there's really no point. Once you charge it up though, it's going to have a much bigger blast radius and it does a lot more damage. Right here, this is a good example of like how freaking crazy the Vortex grenade can be when you charge it up. And every single one of the grenades are really good. If you want to use the scatter nade, that's really good. The Axiom Bolt's really good too if you charge it up. But personally, I just think the most damage you can get is from the Vortex grenade. It's really freaking crazy. And yeah, I mean, you could pretty much just constantly get your grenade, constantly get your melee, and just use it like that. Now, one thing I kind of do recommend, it's up to you though, I would say that the Void melee cooldown will help this build a lot, so that is something you can consider. I like the 10 recovery though. Now right here, this is going to be really ridiculous. This is the Devourer Tree, which is the bottom tree. And holy crap, this is really going to show off how invincible you can be if you use Devour and the sword. It's really crazy. Now, a couple things about Devour. You can actually consume your grenade, and if you do that, you can apply the Devour effect, so you don't even need to melee anything at that point. Once you have the effect going, you have 10 seconds to get a kill. If you get a kill, you're going to fully restore all your health, so you're pretty much impossible to kill, especially if you're running around with a sword. Also, every time you get a kill, it's going to reset that timer, so you can constantly just have Devour non-stop. If you can keep killing enemies, which the sword is really good for quickly disposing of enemies, you can constantly have the Devour effect. The other thing is, every time you actually kill something, it's going to restore some grenade energy for you. And because of the helmet, that's also going to help with your cooldowns, and pretty much you will just be able to spam your grenade. Now for the Devourer Tree, I personally like the Axiom Bolt. That is because you can just throw it in the general direction of the enemies, and you don't actually even have to aim it. It will seek out the targets, and it will kill enemies. And if it does kill something, it will reset the Devour effect. It will actually restore grenade energy. It's so freaking good. So this is something you should try out. It's a lot of fun. It might fit your playstyle a little bit better. Now right here, I'm going to kill this wizard, and then I wanted to include this because I'm going to actually swap the helmet out. I'm going to go to the Skull of Dire Kara because I'm going to use my Nova Bomb here, and I knew that there was going to be a very large group of enemies, and if I was to Nova Bomb them, I could pretty much just restore most of my super and also produce a bunch of orbs for my teammates. So that is something I do like to do, and it's something I would recommend. Now right here, this is probably the most ridiculous thing. It's really going to show off the sword. I'm going to charge up my grenade, then I'm going to put out a healing rift. That's actually really important so I don't die. And then I'm just going to spam my R2 attack with this raid sword, and I will pretty much have unlimited ammo. Any sword with the effect, which is if you get 3 hits, it will restore ammo, will actually work with this, because if you're doing the power attack, it will hit them multiple times. And you can constantly just keep restoring 1 ammo. And if you have 1 ammo, you can do the power attack and just keep doing that. It's really ridiculous. Also, guys, remember, this helmet works great with the Stormcaller as well. Now, I'm only showing Voidwalker clips, but just trust me on that. If you want to have some fun, try it with the Stormcaller. It works amazing as well. Alrighty, guys, I really hope this video has helped. If it has, will you please like the video for me? Be sure to subscribe for future videos, and I really do hope that everyone has a very nice day, and peace out.